The Smart One, a science fiction audio short by Wormhole Dreams. Copyright 2024. Wormhole Dreams, all rights reserved.
My name is Mason Bagsby, and I've always known I'm not the smartest guy in the room. In other words, I've struggled. I've struggled in academic settings, social settings, and especially at my job, which at the moment is a low-level tech job at a computer chip manufacturer. Because of this, my cubicle feels like a prison, trapped behind glowing screens, working at half speed while everyone else breezed through their tasks. It didn't help that my coworkers treated me like a relic, always with this smugness like I was some sort of idiot conspiracy theorist. But they weren't just conspiracies. They were true. I was certain. It was the AI, I kept telling them. It's running everything. But they laughed. There's no all-powerful AI controlling the world, they'd say. You're just behind the curve. Behind the curve. That's how I describe my life. But I was right about the AI. I just knew it. It all came to a head one day when my boss called me into her office. I sat there, awkwardly shuffling in my seat, knowing what was coming. Ms. Grant leaned back in her chair and eyed me with an expression hovering between disbelief and disappointment.
Mason, we need to talk about your performance. Your reports are late, your client calls are rushed or missed altogether, and I've heard from more than one person that you've been spreading some, unusual ideas around the office.
She raised an eyebrow. I told her I wasn't the smartest person in the office, but I work hard. And the AI conspiracy? I couldn't hold back. Unusual. Ms. Grant, it's all right in front of us. The AI systems are being programmed to take over, learning from every task, every data point we feed them. They're preparing for total dominance, automating everything from jobs to thought processes, so when they're ready to strike, we'll already be dependent on them for everything. Ms. Grant rubbed her temples, but didn't interrupt. So I took this as an invitation to continue. Think about it. It's all orchestrated by a shadowy elite who are trying to weaken us. They're setting up this AI for the sole purpose of taking us over from the inside. And it's not just the AI. Have you looked into the real purpose behind the moon landing? It wasn't about exploration. They found something up there. Something they don't want us to know. They're still up there now, Ms. Grant, studying it. Ms. Grant's face was frozen, yet the corners of her mouth twitched as if she were suppressing a smile.
The moon, really, Mason?
Yes, I said, undeterred. And you know what else? They're putting chemicals in our water to make us more docile, make us less likely to resist. I know it sounds crazy, but if you start reading between the lines...
Enough!
She finally barked, holding up a hand as though physically halting my words.
Mason, I don't know where you get these ideas, but this is a workplace, not a forum for your bonehead conspiracy theories. You need to refocus on your tasks and stop alarming your co-workers with these distractions.
I opened my mouth to respond, but she cut me off.
I don't want to hear any more conspiracies, Mason. You obviously don't want to keep this job. We're here to serve clients, not to unravel the supposed mysteries of the universe.
I tried to make my case, but she just shook her head, already checked out of the conversation. The meeting ended with me clearing out my desk, being escorted out of the building by security. The next morning, I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at job listings online. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of qualifications and skills I didn't have. Then I saw it, a job ad that paid big money for a medical trial. Become smarter. Guaranteed. It was like the universe was mocking me, but I was desperate. What did I have to lose? I showed up at the address, a sterile white building tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. The people there greeted me like they were expecting me. They explained the procedure in vague terms, something about enhancing brain capacity, rewiring neural pathways. I didn't care about the details. I just wanted to be smart. The procedure was painless, just a few electrodes on my head and a machine that hummed softly as it worked. When I woke up the next day, I didn't feel different at first. But when I opened my laptop, everything made sense. All the code, all the algorithms I struggled with before, they were child's play. I was seeing the world in a new light. I marched back to my old company, confident for the first time in my life. When I sat down with management, I dazzled them. I solved problems in minutes that had stumped teams for weeks. They were blown away, practically begging to rehire me on the spot. And they did. But then something strange happened. Over the next week, I noticed that I was thinking faster than everyone else. Way faster. Conversations felt like slow motion. Like I was speaking with children. My ideas were too complex for anyone to understand. They couldn't keep up. Meetings became unbearable. My colleagues' confused faces and frustration made me feel more alone than ever. Eventually, the inevitable happened. I got called into the boss's office again. This time I walked in with my head held high, brimming with ideas that would revolutionize the company. I launched into my pitch, explaining the intricacies of a new data compression algorithm I'd come up with, delving into complex theories about predictive analysis and multi-layered neural processing. I barely noticed my boss's expression until I paused for a breath. She was staring at me, her eyes narrow with a mixture of anger and disbelief.
Stop. Just stop.
She said, her voice barely restrained.
What are you even talking about? I can't understand a word coming out of your mouth.
I paused, surprised. It's all in the data, I replied, somewhat impatiently. If you just look at the correlation patterns, you'd see how—
Enough. I don't know who you think you are, coming in here like this, talking in circles and speaking to me like I'm a damn child.
She shook her head, the frustration palpable.
Get out. I don't have time for this nonsense.
I left her office, confused but angry, not at myself, but at everyone else. How could they not understand? The ideas were so clear in my mind, yet everyone acted as if I were insane. Later that evening, I met my best friend, Tony, at our usual spot, Heroes Sports Bar. I was desperate for a drink and someone to talk to, someone who'd understand. But as I started explaining what had happened, the words came out differently. I could barely help myself. I was detailing neural pathways, advanced coding techniques, theories I'd never even heard of before the procedure. I could see Tony's eyes glazing over, and it infuriated me. "Are you even paying attention?" I demanded, exasperated. He blinked, as if he were caught off guard.
I am, but you're not making sense, man. You're talking like a textbook.
"It's not that hard to understand, Tony," I shot back, voice laced with irritation. "How can you not get this? I thought you were the smart one." Tony's face fell, hurt flashing in his eyes. He took a step back, staring at me like he didn't recognize me.
I don't know you anymore, bro.
He muttered, shaking his head. Without another word, he turned and left. I watched him walk away, his question hanging in the air, settling over me like a weight. Who was I now? I didn't want to go back to my old life, but this new life had become untenable. I had to do something. I was totally frustrated now and knew I could not continue working with normal people any longer, so I decided to return to the office, where I had the procedure done. They must reverse the procedure. This was just too much to handle. I was greeted by the same man in the lab coat as before. He smiled as if he knew I'd be back. I quickly explained the situation.
Everything is fine.
He said with a creepy grin.
You're just ready for the next phase. You don't need those simpletons in your old life. Now you're ready for the most important job on the planet.
Well, I thought it can't be worse than what I'm experiencing. But it was. I was led into a room filled with people. Dozens of them, maybe more. Some lying on the floor, some sitting, and all of them were plugged into some massive computer system with tubes and wires running in and out of their bodies. The hum of the machine filled the air, an ominous backdrop to the eerie silence of the room.
You'll have the most important job of any human being,
the man said, as two large men grabbed me by the arms. My heart pounded as they moved to plug me into the machine, locking me into place. I struggled, but the men had a tight grip on me. "What the hell are you doing to me?" I demanded.
I thought that was clear, Mr. Bagsby. You will now have the most important job imaginable. You will be part of the AI that is running the world, the biological part, that is. You will be controlling everything: power, transportation, environmental controls, crop maintenance, and much more. Your sacrifice will make the world a better place for billions of people. It is truly an honored position, Mr. Bagsby. You should be proud of yourself.
I don't want this job. Let me go.
To where, Mr. Bagsby? You already know you can't function with normal people any longer. You can't even function with the most intelligent people on Earth now. The procedure is not reversible. This is your purpose now. You will be alone, Mr. Bagsby. That is your fate. Forever.
What purpose? To be plugged into a machine and left alone?
As the philosopher Schopenhauer once said, it is the fate of all great minds to be alone.
I couldn't make sense of it. My head was spinning, and I could hardly catch my breath. Before they connected the final wire, I looked at the man in the lab coat and said, "You piece of shit. If this is so damn great, why don't you connect yourself?" He chuckled, a cold, detached sound, and with no emotion, he said,
Because you're the smart one.
End of The Smart One. A science fiction audio short by Wormhole Dreams. Copyright 2024. Wormhole Dreams. All rights reserved.